YAML. Prerequisites. Name AWS account. Purpose to host and manage AWS Code Deploy services. Explanation. AWS Code Deploy requires an active AWS account to access resources like EC2 instances, S3 buckets, and ING roles. The account provides the necessary infrastructure and permissions to deploy applications. Name ING role. Purpose to grant AWS Code Deploy permissions to interact with your AWS resources. Explanation. An ING role with appropriate permissions is crucial for Code Deploy to perform tasks like starting instances, deploying application code, and accessing configuration files. The role defines the level of access Code Deploy has to your AWS environment. Name EC2 instance for on-premises deployments. Purpose to host the application code and its dependencies. Explanation. For on-premises deployments, you need an EC2 instance running an operating system that supports the Code Deploy agent. This instance will be the target for deploying your application. Name Code Deploy agent for on-premises deployments. Purpose to communicate with AWS Code Deploy service and execute deployment actions. Explanation. The Code Deploy agent is a software component installed on your EC2 instances. It acts as a bridge between AWS Code Deploy and your on-premises environment. The agent receives deployment instructions from Code Deploy and executes them on the instance. Name S3 bucket optional. Purpose to store application code, deployment configurations, and other related files. Explanation. While not mandatory, using an S3 bucket for storing deployment artifacts can improve efficiency and scalability. Code Deploy can retrieve deployment packages directly from S3, eliminating the need for local storage. Name Code Deploy application. Purpose to define the application to be deployed and its deployment configurations. Explanation. A Code Deploy application is a container for your deployment process. You define the application's deployment groups, deployment configurations, and other settings within this structure. Name Code Deploy deployment group. Purpose to organize and manage the deployment targets for an application. Explanation. A deployment group specifies the instances or environments where your application will be deployed. It allows you to manage deployments to specific groups of instances, enabling granular control over your deployments. Name Deployment configuration. Purpose to specify the deployment process, including the deployment strategy and traffic routing rules. Explanation. A deployment configuration defines how your application will be deployed. You can choose from predefined deployment configurations or create your own, customizing the deployment process to suit your requirements.